So I saw that. I was in the room cleaning, and I think it was social media, and his phone was on
Mhm.
the dresser, and it just went off. And all I read is his brother sending him a text message saying, "Try to get her rights. Try to get her, convince her
Mm.
to sign off her rights to you, so you can get the kid and you can get full custody."
Wow.
And I read that, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What does that mean?" I didn't know. I was like, "What does that mean?" So I went online and I started looking up a bunch of things about family court,
It's like, let me
and
get
I
ahead
was
of this
like,
game.
because I didn't know nothing. That is
Yeah.
not my
Yeah, of
jurisdiction.
course, of course.
I didn't go to law school.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I've never like been to legal court where people are getting legally divorced,
And
family
you weren't
courts.
expecting
There's
this.
different
Like that's the
courts.
biggest thing. You weren't
And
expecting
I'm
all
like, does
this.
this guy have a
Yeah.
different plan after everything he did?
Yeah.
I was like, hold up, wait a minute. So I went online and I started looking up different. I looked up divorce
Mm.
court. Then there's family court, which if there's a child included, divorce court and family court is two different like courts that
Yeah.
you have to go through, and they both are specific to that very topic. So I was like, okay, family court. Then I got like a bunch of like free consulting numbers of
Mm.
lawyers
Mm.
that will give you like the minimum advice, minimum,
Wow.
like because and I was like, okay, let me just take up your time, like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
just answer these questions for me. And I found out that I won't like lose my parental legal rights
Yeah.
unless I sign them off to him. So I was like, what is he gonna do? Like,
Exactly. True.
so
True.
I was like, okay. Then we were driving. At the time, I got my permit.
Mm.
So at the time, I didn't have my license. So when I left my mother's house, so I got my permit and I was able to like drive. And I already knew how to drive, so I just needed to like legalize it. So he was in the back seat one day. We were coming back home. And mind you, we've already lived with his parents a year and a half.
Yeah.
So um, we did move out one time from his parents' house,
Mm.
and we were before I go into this part, let me just fill you guys in on when we did move out because
Mm.
people will probably think, oh my god, did they never ever move out? Like he promised her and stuff like that. We did move out. We
Yeah.
moved into an apartment that I found, and at the time, the lady who showed us the apartment, it was really nice. It was in Decatur, Georgia,
Mm.
and the apartment, I guess she showed us the display, like the tour apartments that look really nice. But
Mm.
the one we moved in was rubbish. I was like, stuck for the wall. What is this? We moved in, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I signed a lease for. Ma'am, you gave me false advertisement because there was roaches in the apartment. And I was like, what? I was like, I did not sign up for this. I didn't sign a lease for this. And I told him about it, and I was like, and I'm pregnant. I'm over here pregnant. Ismail was not born yet. This is before Ismail was born. This is when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, ma'am, like, we need to move out. We lived there for 1 month.
Yeah.
I went through hell and back with this lady. I had to like send them proof of how she did false advertisements just to get a $500 deposit back.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, this was not the apartment we got. I am pregnant. I cannot be breathing in these chemicals that you guys come and spray in the apartment.
Mm.
They were like, okay, you need to move out. This is the date. You got to give us the keys. Boom, boom. I was like, okay. And then he got upset. He got really upset.
Wow.
And he was like, we got to look for another apartment now. I was like, okay. And he found an apartment. Then he put the money down, and the lady that was the landlord of the place,
Yeah.
it was a townhouse. It was a really nice townhouse. She was like, "You're not gonna get your keys until you pay first month's rent." He was like, "What do you?" She emailed me talking about you can get your keys after you move in. You can pay your first month's rent.
Mm.
Then she switched up and said you have to pay your first month's rent before you move in.
Wow.
And I was like, I have the email here. And they were like, we're not going to refund you the money. They only gave us portion of the money we put down. So we got another 500 from them.
Mm.
And he turned around really upset and he yelled at me. And I was like, how is this my fault? And I showed him the email that she sent me. And mind you, I'm literally like going through heartburn, headaches,
SubhanAllah.
cramps,
Yeah.
and I'm pregnant. And I'm doing all this. And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Why are you telling me this is my fault?
Mm.
This is the email that she sent me. She said it was okay the first time, and now she's changing her mind. And I called her, and I got in a really big argument with her. And I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, you can't do anything right. All this book going. And I was
Wow.
like, you know what? Contractions. I was also getting contractions too, because it was close to Ismail coming.
Wow.
So I was like, then we spent a whole 2 days because he did not want to go back to his parents' house.
Mm.
The Toyota Corolla I had that day, we spent 2 nights in that car. We
SubhanAllah.
literally slept in the car.
In the car?
Yeah, we
Wow.
slept in the car.
Wow.
And
I'm
I don't
sorry
know
about
where the
that. I
patience,
feel like I
I don't
should
know where my
apologize for
patience
that.
came from.
Yeah.
No, it's we die there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's experience. This is literally life experience. But I don't know where the patience came for me to even do that and endure that because I was really going through it. Like I was just like, oh my God. Then we went back to his parents' house. His mom, I guess, finally convinced him. And I told him, I was like, I can't be like, I'm pregnant and I cannot be sleeping in a car. Like, my back is literally killing me. And he was like, okay, fine. Let me go back to his parents' house. Fast forward to Ismail, because there was a bunch of things that happened,
Yeah.
like a bunch of unnecessary things that happened between the time of that happening and Ismail being born. Um, then what do you call Smiley was born, and I left work. Mind you, when I was pregnant with him, I was working 2 jobs. I left both of those jobs, and I stayed home with Smiley. And he finally found a job that his stepfather got him,
Mm.
and it was a company. It was Tyson. That's the company. He's been not wanting to work for Tyson for like the longest because chicken kismayan haram,
Mm.
and
Mm.
he would have been working the line. And I was like, you're not consuming the chicken, like you're not eating it,
Yeah.
you're just packaging it. And I
Wait,
was
what
like,
made the chicken haram?
because it was by Tyson, the company, they would
Oh,
inject like before they bring the chicken like through the
really?
line, they would inject hormones
Wow.
before it comes down the line. And he was like, I don't want to work with that. That's haram. So I'm like, listen, you're not consuming the chicken, you're not
Mm.
eating it, and you're not touching the pork. Like you're not touching the pig.
Yeah.
It's a chicken. I need you to go find a job
Mm.
so we can buy food for the baby.
Right.
he was like, he was like, fine. He finally took the job and he started working there. And I was basically like breastfeeding Ismail,
Mm.
cooking food for him, doing laundry, the the regular
Yeah.
stuff that you're supposed to do as a new mom. But being a new mom, it was so shocking for me because I was going through postpartum depression, but I
Yeah.
didn't know it. Like
Mm.
I didn't know it until I learned about it because my mood swings would change and I'd be like, oh my God. And Ismail would like the sleepless nights, it
Mm.
was just me. Oh my God. I was going through those sleepless nights. Like, oh my goodness.
So was he not around to like make that easy for you, like in terms of
He would go to sleep because he had to work. And I
oh
felt guilty. Like
trying to wake him up?
he didn't make me feel guilt. He didn't reassure me
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to like care for the kid. He
Well,
would
I
do it
mean,
like
is both. I mean, yeah, you had the child, but at the same time, he had something to do with it, right? Like, it really, yeah, you would feel bad that he's going to work, but at the same rate, it's like you also went through such a big, big experience. You've just like went through 9 months of carrying that baby, and then going through the pregnancy was difficult for you. So I would assume, like, even as much as he has to work, he would sort of volunteer or help out. Not even volunteer, but do what he needs to do to take care of that baby. That's his. So, like,
yeah. I wish it was
yeah,
that way.
right, right,
That would be nice,
yeah.
but it wasn't.
Mm.
There was some nights he did help,
Yeah.
but those are very, very minimum. It was hard because sleepless nights with a child,
Yeah.
a newborn especially, like you
Oh
really go
yeah.
through the sleepless nights, man.
Subhanallah.
And it's crazy how alert you become as a parent
Mm.
when the baby is born. Like if there was the slightest move, I would wake up. Now he's 2 years old. I think I fucking Andy.
Yeah.
But when they're born, subhanAllah, it's like you're an alarm clock.
Yeah, you're on
You're
edge
like,
for
oh,
sure.
well, you're literally on edge. You're like, oh my God, is he up? Maybe I could close my eyes for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you got like fathers who don't even react to anything. Because I've seen some like parents where the dad is like snoring away, and you got the mother who's like so attentive, like whatever happens, she's wide awake, she's up, and she's
Hmm.
jumping on the baby. Like she knows when the baby needs
Yeah.
milk. Even before the baby wakes up, she goes to the baby to like give him the milk and feed him because like her
Hmm.
instincts and what she thinks about is a whole
Yeah.
different ball game.
Yeah. That is so true. SubhanAllah. And when I gave birth to Ismail, wallahi, I gave my props, starting with my mom and all the mothers everywhere
Oh,
around the
dude.
world. Like I have the hugest respect
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
moms everywhere because it is a different type of love and level to like
Subhanallah.
being a woman. Like
Mm.
when you're a mom and all the moms that've given birth to like multiple kids,
Yeah.
subhanAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannat al-Firdaus because being a mom is just incredible. Wallahi. It's just the most blessing thing and the most testing thing ever.
Yeah. And I
Wallahi, it
think
tests your patience.
no, and I think like part of the reason why like like there are mothers who have multiple kids is because you get to a point. I think you get to a point where you're like, oh, I miss those days, I miss these times, I miss these moments.
You do.
And so some mothers are like, and the beauty of it is that Allah, like with time you forget the pain that you went through. You sort of just you like you hold on to all the good things that that you've had with this first child, and you're like, man, I want to go back to where like
I still
I would
miss the
hold him.
days that he
Oh.
was a pup. Yeah, I still miss the days when he was
Right
a
there.
baby. Like a tiny little baby. حمل سماني ماشي
Yeah,
سكت
it's good for there.
عني so I'm about to that's it.
Yeah,
That's is I missed just the little tiny human being he was.
for sure.
Like he was so tiny. I miss those days a lot. I'm
Mm.
just like he's grown up
Oh,
so much, subhanAllah. It's
no.
crazy. But that day,
Mm.
my utmost respect to this day, wallahi. Like if somebody talks crap about moms, I get really mad. Like
Jump on him. Yeah.
it triggers me. Like there are some really, 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 really deadbeat
Mm.
moms, and I
Mm.
pray to God like He forgives them because of the mistakes that they're making.
Mm.
But the moms who are really holding down with kids and they are doing everything, like you really become everything. The doctor, the teacher, the nurse, like the cook,
Mm.
everything. Like the
Subhanallah.
dresser, the styler, the cleaner. Oh my goodness, you literally become everything. It's
Like
just like subhanAllah.
no, would you say that that might have like decreased the affection between you and uh, your ex-husband? Do you think that sort of contributed to it?
Like decreased.
Yeah, like
Oh, a
decreased that.
lot.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, a lot. A lot.
Mm.
He was just, it was bad.
Mm.
And it was really sad because my self-confidence went down.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was the same, because my body now is gone that I worked so hard for all these years. But I gave birth to a beautiful kid,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sad about giving birth to a kid, but I was just like, when is my body gonna snap back?
Mm. Mm.
Not anytime soon, because I'm breastfeeding now, so now I have to eat more to give these nutrition to this baby. So I've
Mm.
gained weight, and it's just like he would say like, "Oh, you look fine, don't worry,
Yeah.
it happens, you can work out."
Yeah, but you're like, no,
It
that's
was
not
it
how
wasn't
I
the
feel.
it wasn't the
Don't tell me
reassuring that
that.
I needed.
Yeah. You're like, don't tell me that. How I feel is how I feel. It doesn't matter about what you think of me. For sure, for sure.
But yeah, so I went through like the sleepless nights,
Mm.
and
Mm.
Sunday was then the day that I just like changed my entire life. Like I don't think I could ever forget that Sunday. And it was in May, and it was in 2018.
Mm.
One thing I want to say is like I'm gonna clarify this on my channel too, inshallah, when I get to it.
Inshallah.
But when I shared my story, it was 2019, and a lot of people thought I was going through it then that year, but I
Mm.
wasn't.
Okay.
I talked about it briefly in my videos, but it was actually 2018, not 2019. Um, so I got up. It
Mm.
was just like a regular morning. At this time, I was already talking to a lot of lawyers, the family court,
Mm.
and I mentioned what was going on to my gynecologist, who was the Ethiopian young lady, Muslim to home. And she was a mom too. She had 3 kids, and she understood. And she's like, "Oh, this happens." She gave me a lot of advice. And I also was talking to a family member from my side,
Yeah.
but not like blood, like a distant cousin, about what was happening and what was going on.
Yeah, because it's
And
important who you choose to talk to, especially when your emotions are like so high and your thought process is like one way. So it's like if you talk to a person that you may be very very close to about your situation,
mhm,
sometimes they may give you what you already are thinking about. Sometimes they might feel for you, and then they'll just
yeah,
advise you based on what you want to hear. So for
yeah,
you to like
that's true.
seek advice from multiple people, that really shows a lot.
That's true.
Yeah.
He was giving me advice on like maybe sitting down and talking to him. We
Hmm.
even went to like imam for counseling,
Yeah.
like Muslim counseling as a couple, and
Mashallah.
that didn't work out. That didn't work. That didn't help because he didn't want to do counseling.
Mm.
He was like, "This is not going to help us." And I was like, "Yes, it is. Like, it could help us. It could help us figure out what the problem we're having." And I was just on the phone. I went to the bathroom. I was on the phone, like just playing with my phone while I was using the bathroom.
Mm.
And he comes knocking on the bathroom, and I'm like, "Can I open it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm using the bathroom." And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm using the bathroom." And
It's
he's
almost
like,
like that time where you see where you see someone at the grocery store, and they ask you, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "I'm at the grocery store. Like I'm obviously shopping for food, right?"
I should have been like,
Yeah.
when I think about it now, it's funny
Yeah.
because I can talk about this story
For
without
sure.
getting emotional
Yeah. Yeah.
or being upset.
Mm.
Before, like 2 years ago, if I was to talk about it, I would be really
Yeah.
upset.
Mm.
Like, but I could talk about it. And when I think about it, some of the things
Yeah.
were very funny. Like, I can find humor in it.
Yeah.
So, I told him, and he came into the bathroom, and I'm like, okay. He's like, "Where's your phone?" And I'm like, "It's right here." He was like, "Open it." I was like, "Why?" This time I said no. I was like, "You open my phone all the time." I'm not opening it. He was like, he constantly repeated, "Open your phone, Khadija, open your phone, open your phone." I said, "No, no, no, no." Then we had a big ass argument about it. And I
Mm.
went back to the room, checked on his fine. He's fine. He's sleeping. He's still on the whole open your phone. Who are you talking to? I was like, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just playing games. And one of the tabs that was open
Mm.
was, I feel like this would be like a scary movie. One of the tabs that was open was me looking into family courts and stuff like that. So I was like, maybe if he sees that, that could like trigger him.
Trigger something.
So
Yeah.
don't open your phone. Um, so I was like, no. And then that's when he like started like really like getting physical,
Mm.
and like beating me and stuff like that. And I was like, I was pretty shocked, and I was crying and I was
Wow.
emotional
Sorry
about
about
it.
that.
And he was still going on. He was still like he was doing the whole 9 yards, like kicking, punching, slapping, all that stuff. And then he like grabbed me, and he was trying to throw me down the stairs, but I ran down the stairs
Yeah.
because if he would had got me, he would have threw me downstairs, and I probably would have broke a
Subhanallah.
bone or something. Then I called his dad, and I told him that your son is like hitting me. And I was looking for his mom, but his mom wasn't there. his stepdad told me that his mom went out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for her. So I went out to the drive. No, before I went out to the drive-through, he grabbed me and he threw me out the door. He like dragged me and threw me out the door, and he was like, "Go back to where you come from." And I was like, "What?" I wasn't saying what like this. I was just like, I was still in shock and I was crying and I was pretty bruised up.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Can I get my backpack?" And the reason I said, "Can I get my backpack?" was for me to go upstairs and get Smile. In my head, I was thinking, he's like, "No, you didn't come with nothing. You're not leaving with anything." Then I went to the drive-through, and I remember that very day, like it was raining, and I just stood on the drive-through, and the rain was like complete. It was pouring rain, and I just stood there, and I was like, "I'm waiting for your mom." And he comes down the stairs, and he was like, "I should have never married you." He starts talking about all these
Wow.
this stuff I don't need to hear right now, and I just stood there, and I didn't even look at him. And he was like, "Why are you still standing here? Start walking." And I didn't reply. I didn't engage with him. And he just went back to the house. And I just started making dua that day. Like I knew it was raining, so I started making dua in my heart. Like gets me out of the situation because I felt very like weak. And there was moments when we were fighting before this happened, like a couple months ago, that I wanted to call my mom. Like I wanted to reach out, but I felt ashamed to reach out to her and ask her for help for everything I put her through. So I was like, I was like, don't reach out to her because you're the one that put yourself in the situation and you won't be able to get yourself out. And never ever think like that. Like, never ever think that reaching out is going to harm the other person.
Mm.
And reaching out, like, don't think I'm not going to reach out because this is my fault. Everybody makes mistakes,
Yeah.
and everybody goes through things. But if there's people out there that will hear you and help you and you trust them, then do that. Like reach out to them, ask them for help, you know, because if you feel like you can't get out and you can't do anything and you feel ashamed because you're the one that did this, everybody makes mistakes. Yeah. Everybody does something wrong sometimes. So don't ever feel like you're trapped. And I didn't reach out a lot of the times because I felt like it was my fault that I put myself in this and I should go through it. And nobody should have to go through that. You know, that's not right. And no man should put his hands on a woman. So, sure. Including his wife, like that's just ridiculous. But he did give me my divorce. He was like, "You're not married to me no more." Then his mom came. I told her, low key, she did not believe me. She was like, "What?" She gave me like this.
Yeah, my son is
face.
not like that.
Excuse my language, but she didn't believe me. She's obviously gonna take her son's side.
Yeah.
But she knew her son had anger problems, and he had in the past, like while we've been married, he has done things that showed me that he has anger problems, like smash his phone twice, steer the car wheel, like jolt the car wheel to the point where we got in an accident almost, like break things. He's shown signs of anger management, like anger problems, anger issues. So I just knew, like I always told myself, maybe he's never gonna put his hands on me. Like maybe he's never going to touch me. Maybe he's not gonna do that. Like in the back of my head, I would tell myself this. I was like, maybe he's not gonna do that. Hopefully he doesn't. Like, hopefully he doesn't put his hands on me. He would never, like, he said it to me, he's never gonna put his hands on me. Like, so, but at the end he did. Yeah. And then